What is going on, guys? This is DropThisBox, and I hope all of you guys out there are having a fantastic day today. And today I want to talk about Brandy and Mr. Whiskers because, like you guys noticed on Friday, I started diving into a lot of Disney cartoons. So I want to cover a lot of the shows that I watched on Disney Channel growing up as a kid, and Brandy and Mr. Whiskers was another one of those shows that I had a lot of fun watching. So within this video itself, I just want to go over Brandy and Mr. Whiskers as a whole, just to give my overall thoughts on the series. So let's dive into that right away because I am super excited to talk about Brandy and Mr. Whiskers. So Brandy and Mr. Whiskers had one of the most bizarre yet entertaining premises in early 2000s cartoons. The show followed a spoiled dog, Brandy, and a hyperactive rabbit, Mr. Whiskers, who ended up stranded in the Amazon jungle after falling out of a plane. That setup alone promised tons of comedic situations, and the show definitely delivered. Seeing these two vastly different personalities forced to survive in a jungle filled with eccentric creatures made for a unique experience. Probably one of the best parts of the premise was how Brandy and Mr. Whiskers reacted to their new environment. Brandy was constantly trying to find a way back to her luxurious life, while Whiskers, being the goofball that he was, fully embraced their jungle home. This dynamic created a strong contrast between the characters, which was the heart of the show. It also led to hilarious moments where Brandy's attempts to introduce high society clashed with the wild and unpredictable jungle. The show made great use of the setting by introducing quirky jungle residents, whether it was Loa Boa, the sassy and supportive snake, or Gaspar the Gecko, the scheming antagonist of the show, and each character added an extra layer of fun. The jungle wasn't just a backdrop, it was a central part of the humor and storytelling. It felt like its own little world, packed with its own bizarre logic and rules. What made the premise work, though, was that it played with survival tropes in a lighthearted way. Instead of focusing on the struggle to stay alive, it was more about how Brandy and Whiskers tried and often failed to adapt. It was fun watching Brandy attempt to bring civilization to the jungle, while Whiskers just wanted to have a good time. And that balance between their opposing personalities kept the show engaging and fresh. And the core of the show was the friendship between Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, even if they didn't always seem to like each other. Brandy saw Whiskers as an annoying burden, and Whiskers saw Brandy as his best friend, even if she constantly rejected him. And that odd dynamic was a huge part of the comedy, but beneath all the bickering and frustrations, there was a real bond. Brandy often wanted nothing to do with Whiskers, but there were moments where she actually showed she cared. Whether it was protecting him from Gaspar's schemes or reluctantly helping him out of trouble, her actions spoke louder than her words. It was this sort of push and pull relationship that made their interaction so fun to watch. Whiskers might have been clueless, but he had a big heart, and sometimes that was enough to win Brandy over. Whiskers, on the other hand, he was always loyal to Brandy. No matter how much she insulted or pushed him away, he was naive, clumsy, and overly enthusiastic, but he genuinely cared about Brandy's happiness. Sometimes his optimism even rubbed off on her, making for some heartwarming moments in the show. His ability to find joy in their jungle life was something Brandy struggled with, but deep down she needed it. Their friendship may have been chaotic, but it was ultimately what held the show together. No matter how many times Brandy claimed she wanted nothing to do with Whiskers, she never truly abandoned him, and as much as Whiskers annoyed her, she was never fully able to cut him off, and this gave the show a fun emotional layer beneath all of the wacky humor. And Brandy and Mr. Whiskers had a brand of humor that felt different from a lot of other Disney Channel cartoons around its time. It was fast-paced, energetic, and often relied on absurdity. Mr. Whiskers' over-the-top personality brought a lot of the slapstick humor, while Brandy's sarcastic reactions balanced it out. Their contrasting styles made for some great comedic timing. A lot of the jokes stemmed from Whiskers' cluelessness. He was just the type of character who could turn any situation into a complete disaster without even realizing it. But at the same time, the jungle setting allowed for plenty of creative gags. The show took full advantage of the weird creatures and strange scenarios that could happen in such an unpredictable environment. Brandy's attempts to bring civilization to the jungle also led to a lot of comedy, whether she was trying to introduce fashion trends, high-end parties, or even a spa day, just always ended in a disaster. Her reactions to things going wrong were just as funny as the disasters themselves. The show had a way of making their frustrations comedic rather than mean-spirited. One of the things that made the humor stand out, though, was how self-aware it could be. The show wasn't afraid to get a little meta or poke fun at its own ridiculousness. It embraced its wacky premise rather than trying to make things logical. That gave it a fun, almost chaotic energy that made each episode entertaining in a different way. Brandy and Mr. Whiskers might have not been the biggest Disney Channel show, but those who watched it still remember it fondly. It had that early 2000s charm where cartoons weren't afraid to be weird or over the top. Shows like this had a distinct energy that made them stand out even if they weren't as mainstream as something like Kim Possible or The Proud Family. The unique character designs and animation style also made it memorable. Mr. Whiskers, with his long floppy ears and twitchy movements, was a character that just stuck with you. Brandy's fashion-obsessed personality and expressive reactions made her a great counterpart. Visually, the show had its own identity, which helped it stand out from other cartoons at the time. The theme song also played a big part in why people remember the show. It was catchy, fun, and did a great job of setting up the premise in just a few seconds. A good theme song can make a show stick in people's minds, and this one definitely did that. Just hearing it can bring back memories of watching Disney Channel back in the day. Even though it didn't last very long, Brandy Mr. Whiskers left an impression on those who watched it. It had a unique mix of humor, heart, and chaos that made it fun to revisit. For a lot of people, it's one of those shows that might have slipped under the radar, but once they remember it, all those childhood memories come rushing back. So it was fun to talk about Brandy and Mr. Whiskers within this video because for me, I like giving a lot of love to some of those cartoons that don't get as much recognition, like I mentioned within the video when it came to Kim Possible and The Proud Family, because those shows back then, they were pretty popular and a lot of people tuned in to watch those shows. But like I said, I like giving love to these other shows because they deserve to get some spotlight as well. So it was fun to just talk about Brandy and Mr. Whiskers within this video itself, so we could talk about the kind of experience that show had all of those years ago in the early 2000s when it originally aired. But now I'm gonna leave the ball in your court now. How do you guys feel about Mr. Whiskers? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you guys have anything you want to share with me when it comes to your overall experience with the show? Be sure to let me know down below. And if you guys enjoy the content on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. If you guys want to follow me on my social media, be sure to check out my X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All the links to those are located in the description below. Be sure to hit that bell for notifications so you guys are notified whenever I'm dropping a video on the channel. But other than that, I hope all the guys are having a fantastic day, wherever the day may be, if it's the daytime, the nighttime, or the evening. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.